Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Yellowstone Association.
Okay, my name is Cherie Bardsley, and I'm the Retail Operations Manager for the Yellowstone Association, the official and nonprofit cooperating partner of the National Park Service here in Yellowstone. And what we do is we help the park through education. That's our mission. And we have several stores in the park that we operate as nonprofit stores. All the proceeds from the sales in there go back to help the Office of Interpretation with projects and various things here in Yellowstone. The other piece that we do, we operate a field school called the Yellowstone Institute. People can go out to the field school and take classes that provide a more immersive experience in Yellowstone. For example, if you've wanted to learn a whole lot more about the bears in Yellowstone, you can go take a 3 or 4 day class to go learn more about that. And we have our membership program. So through the membership program, people can, what that's designed to do is to give people an opportunity to connect back with the park once they make a visit here. It also gives people a way of making a donation to help out Yellowstone. Because what we find is people come here, they fall in love with Yellowstone, they want to do something to give back, and this is one way that people can make a small donation, help out the park, and stay connected with it. We keep people connected through a quarterly email newsletter that goes out, and then we have a publication called The Discovery that we also send folks so that they can keep up on what's going on in the park. And we find that a lot of people, Yellowstone's one of these places where people come for the first time and then they tend to come back again.
Sure.
It's a big place, there's a lot to experience here, so people tend to want to return to Yellowstone.
Sure. And what do work campers do in your operation?
So primarily what work campers do in our operation, we have work camping people who do a couple of things. The biggest way we use work campers is out in the stores in the park. We have them come in during the summer season and work as sales associates for us in our various locations out in the park. And then we also employ volunteers. Very fewer of those are work campers, but we do use volunteers. In some of those settings, we provide the housing, like at the Lamar Buffalo Ranch. People can come out and volunteer a couple of months out of the year and help out at the Yellowstone Institute campus at Lamar Valley.
Wow, okay. So what are some of the typical duties that work campers would do in the bookstores and then also in the opportunity that you just mentioned at the
So yeah, typically, it's like working in a retail bookstore. If you've ever been in like a Barnes and Noble or something, it's a lot like that, only a lot busier and a lot crazier because it's Yellowstone in the summer. We get about 3 million visitors in the park every year. The majority of those are in the summertime. Only about 500,000 people visit Yellowstone in the winter. So the bulk of it is in the summer. So these are real crazy places to work. It's not just sitting in a bookstore, waiting for someone to come in. And usually our sales associates also provide information about the park. We do have some locations out in the park. Our West Thumb store is a good example where there are no rangers present there. There's a small thermal basin at West Yellowstone, or at West Thumb. The people come in, they want information about what's to see and do in the park. Our sales associates help answer those questions because the closest visitor center is 2 miles away at Grant Village where they can find a ranger. There are rangers that rove through the West Thumb Geyser Basin and give programs there, but they don't staff that as a permanent presence there. So some of the duties would involve giving people information, running a cash register to ring up sales in the stores. And then one of the biggest things that we do here too is with the membership program. Our membership base is about 35,000 people at this point. About 90% of those people are recruited through the stores. So we ask our sales associates to offer each person that they come in contact with that opportunity to join the Yellowstone Association, because you never know who might be interested in giving back to Yellowstone. So they try to ask each person that comes to the cash register if they are members of the Yellowstone Association. If not, have they heard about us? So then they can start to tell them about what it is that we do. And it's amazing how generous people are. I mean, people from all over the world come to Yellowstone. We have association members in Beijing, Ankara, Turkey, all over the place, because sales associates have told them about what we do. They fall in love with Yellowstone and they want to do something to help out Yellowstone. So it's pretty cool. That's a big thing that we look for when we recruit sales associates, is that ability to talk to people about the park and about what we really do to get people connected. And then also they have to be able to operate a cash register and be able to point people to Yellowstone products that we have. If somebody's looking for, trail guides, where can I go hiking, they need to be able to show them books and things like that.
Let's get into then more about sales associates.
Okay.
As far as you've already talked about the duties, so is there compensation provided, and what is the season like, start to end time?
Yeah, there's compensation. When we start our sales associates here in the park at the Montana state minimum wage, it's $7.75 an hour. And then for people who return, typically we give them a raise. We do have a cap on our wages, but we try to make sure that we compensate people for doing the job. I think a lot of people, when they come up here, they want to try to at least cover their expenses. Some of the expenses involved in that, we do rent RV sites from the National Park Service. The rent on those is not that bad. It usually averages about $150 a month, but it varies a little bit by location. So it could be a little more depending on where you're at in the park. Then utilities on top of that, people would have to pay for their electric. That too is billed through the National Park Service. But what we do here at the Yellowstone Association is we take care of that as a payroll deduction for people. So most people come working as couples, and we take that out in advance, and then they still end up with a little bit of money. And the idea is, I think a lot of our folks, they just really want to cover their expenses.
Sure.
And then other compensation, we have some cool benefits. One of the greatest benefits I think that we have is people are eligible who work for us to take a free Yellowstone Institute class. This is a really amazing thing. It's kind of like going out with National Geographic and experiencing Yellowstone.
Cool.
The instructors are full-on experts in the field that they're teaching. For example, there's a gentleman who is one of the leading carnivore ecologists in the world. Probably knows more about bears and cougars and things like that. He teaches some of the classes. You can go out with Dr. Halfpenny and go out and take a 4-day mammal tracking class, and our folks get to do that for free. It's a benefit. We do provide coverage for their job when they go out and take the class. So that's really nice. We also do a lot of fun things. We set up some employee hikes every summer to take people out. If people have never been backpacking, they can go. These are kind of a loose collection of folks that work here, but it does give people an opportunity to go do some experience like that in the park. And then I think one of the greatest benefits of this job is just working with the everyday park visitor. Because people come here, they just are enthralled by this place. And it is really fun to talk to people who walk in there all excited because they just saw something magical or something amazing. And they want to share that experience with somebody. And oftentimes our sales associates are one of the first people they might see. So they'll come in all excited because it's the first time they ever saw a buffalo, or the first time they've ever seen Old Faithful, or the first time they've ever seen a grizzly bear walking in the wild, and they want to share that. So that's a great benefit.
So there's multiple locations for the bookstores around the park. Now, the employee RV sites, are those close to all the locations, or is there dedicated employee RV areas, or how's that set up?
So we are not in public campgrounds in Yellowstone. When folks come to work for us, they actually live in a government housing area. And that's at all of the locations. Some of the locations, the housing areas are a little closer. Like, for example, Old Faithful, the housing area is about a mile away, but it's a great walk. We encourage people to bring their bicycles if they're working at Old Faithful. There's a great bike path. They can ride from the housing area right over to the visitor center, and they're at work.
Cool.
A lot of the rangers down there ride bikes. Grant and West Thumb's an interesting one. The people that work at those locations, they work at both stores. Now, West Thumb store is about 2 miles away from the Grant government housing area where these people live. So they drive their vehicles down there. And it's over in the lake area of the park, which tends to get some afternoon thunderstorms. So with that, you probably would not want to ride your bike over there. That's a better place to drive to. But then folks can just walk at Grant to the visitor center because they're right at that area. We have, Norris is kind of an interesting location. Depending on what the National Park Service is doing, sometimes with housing themselves, sometimes we put people at Norris. There's a small government housing area located there. Other times we might put people over at Canyon, then they drive 12 miles to go to Norris to go to work. But it's a beautiful, short 12-mile drive. And so a lot of times people are willing to do that. Canyon is a much larger area, more amenities for when you're off work in the evening. But sometimes people really like the solitude of Norris too, where it's just beautiful there in the evening. You have elk, bison, whatever walk through there, bears from time to time. It's a beautiful little housing area. It's kind of rustic and remote. Madison's another one. Madison's sort of remote. Madison is an interesting case. It has no cell phone service or no internet. So if you want internet or phone, you get a dial-up line from CenturyLink. Have them put a regular phone line to your trailer and then connect that way to get out. But you know, there's all different kinds of people. There are a lot of people who really like the nice quiet evenings where they can read books and just be in nature. Then you've got people who kind of like more a busy place to be in the evenings. Something like Old Faithful with the 3 hotels would be a place like that. Coolers and things like that, really important up here for bear safety, to keep all of that stuff inside your rig so there's no outside coolers. One of the restrictions that we do have here is all the campers must be hard-sided. We can't, unfortunately, tent trailers and things like that will not work here because we are in bear country. So it's really important, both for the safety of people and also the safety of the bears. We have people, you know, who sometimes apply. We definitely need hard-sided units here in Yellowstone for safety reasons. Let's see, what else can I tell you? If you arrive early in the season, you may have snow in your campsite. The district managers that operate the stores out in the park do a really good job of working with the National Park Service maintenance crew to try to clear as much snow out of there. But we've had people, when we've had big snow years, who basically back into a snow cave. And it's like that until the snow melts in July. That can be tricky. I always tell people about this because you may have to get your shovel out and dig out for where your slide outs have to go. And it can be a lot of work, and it's just something to be aware of. It can also be kind of a fascinating, fun adventure to live in a snow cave for the first few weeks that you're here.
Absolutely.
But some of the realities of it. And then other wildlife in the housing areas, you know, we have a lot of that around. We just ask people, you know, please be responsible about stuff. And there are fire pits in a lot of the locations. People, if there's no fire restrictions in the park, people are allowed to have campfires. They're often shared fire pits where maybe you might be sharing a fire pit with your neighbor. And maybe your neighbor is a National Park Service ranger living in a mobile home there, and you're next to them in your RV. And it's a shared situation, but that tends to be great and create great camaraderie here in the park. There are also most of the sites have picnic tables, so you can be outside if you like, and enjoy beautiful sunsets and everything else we have here.
Yeah. Awesome. And are the RV employee areas shared with other employers that employ work campers throughout the park?
Yes. Most of the employers here operate out of these government housing areas. So you're sharing housing areas, other people in RVs. They may be National Park Service employees, whether they're naturalist rangers, law enforcement rangers, or maintenance workers for the National Park Service. They all live in these areas. as well as people who operate the lodging facilities in the park, and then people who operate the Yellowstone general stores are also living in these same areas. Some of the bigger areas like Old Faithful and Canyon, these areas can be really large with a lot of employees kind of coming and going, and they're great communities of people though. People tend to get to know their neighbors, and they get to know each other, and it's kind of a wonderful thing. They have a lot of community events. I know at Grant, every year they have a big fish fry event where they get together and they go help us eradicate the invasive lake trout species. And they'll go out and catch a lot of lake trout, and then they'll put on a big old fish fry, and people will come in a giant potluck and bring everything under the sun to eat and participate in that. Other areas like at Old Faithful, they'll have a lot of like little campfire events where they'll invite each other over, potlucks, a marshmallow roast, s'mores night out, various things like that. So these communities become very tight, close-knit communities. I think the in-park communities are very special in that way. So yeah, they are shared with other employers, but not the general public. The general public's in public campgrounds.
Sure. And where is the nearest facilities for hospital, filling prescriptions, running to Walmart, things like that? Because I know this is a more remote location, so people need to be aware that you may be traveling miles and miles to...
Right. I'm really glad you asked that question. That comes up in the interviews all the time, where we're telling people a little bit more about Yellowstone. Yellowstone is a remote place. However, in the summer here, once the park gets up and fully open for the summer, there are medical facilities in the park. There's clinics at Old Faithful, Lake, and here at Mammoth. These clinics are really great. The staff there, as you can imagine, we're in a wilderness area. Sometimes people, unfortunately, do have accidents here in the park, or they do get sick. These people have seen everything. So they're really great medical facilities at the clinics. So if you have some problem, you can, be assured that you can go over to the clinic, and those people there, either the physicians or the physician's assistants, and their staff will be able to help you. One thing we do have here, there's a medical evacuation service that you can get more information about at the clinics here in the park. They can helicopter people out in the event of a big emergency, so something really goes wrong with your health. They can take you in an emergency to the best local care, to where you can, get out of here quickly rather than going by ambulance. So those kind of things are available as well. For prescriptions and things like that, people need to be aware Yellowstone is a very big place, and it's in a very remote corner of Wyoming and Montana. And so driving to the nearest Walmart for a prescription is a long drive. The closest Walmarts will be Bozeman, Montana, and Cody, Wyoming. There are some local drugstores. There's one here in Gardner that's quite good. There's also a little local drugstore in West Yellowstone, Montana. So it's important that I think a lot of people are using prescription services where they can get things mailed to them. If you take prescriptions on a regular basis, that's a good way to go. Getting food and groceries is interesting here. A lot of people, what they do is they plan to travel to these outside communities anyway. So when they go, for example, to visit Cody, they'll take a big shopping list with them, and they'll go shop at the local stores there. There's a big Walmart there and a large grocery store. So they'll stock up when they go outside the park. Sometimes they even spend the night because they want to do, a multi-day trip. Jackson's another one that people like to visit. Bozeman, great place to go. There's a Costco there, things like that. But it's not a trivial thing. Driving from Old Faithful to Bozeman to shop, I used to do that all the time. I'd go about once every month or a little more, maybe 6 weeks. It was a 3-hour trip up and a 3-hour trip back. Yeah. So, here in the park, the Yellowstone General Stores, you can get the basics like eggs, bread, milk, that kind of thing for your everyday stuff. Prices aren't too bad. As employees, we also get discounts. So that does help, even discounts on groceries at the general stores. They're a great partner in that way, working with us. But it's not like you're going to be able to shop for you know, a lot of meat or things like that. Those would be stock-up trips outside of the park.
Yeah, and there's no hunting in the park, so you can't go out and get your own dinner.
No hunting in Yellowstone.
Yeah. Okay, and one other question I thought of, do you guys provide uniforms for your work campers, or
We do.
Do they need to bring anything with them to complete the outfit or anything?
Yes, they do. So we provide a staff shirt. I wish I had it on today. It's a really nice shirt that we work with our clothing vendors to provide that. Each person gets 2 shirts when they come to work for us. They also get a name tag identifying who they are and who they work for. And then most people here can wear, you know, Levi's are fine. Also, you know, khakis like Dockers are fine. Hiking pants are fine. Anything that just kind of is neutral colors that look good with our staff shirts, they're kind of a khaki color. And then we just ask people to wear comfortable shoes because they're on their feet all day, but no open-toed sandals. We are working with books, so we don't want a book to fall on somebody's toe and it results in an injury because people might want to go out hiking and that wouldn't be good. So no open-toed shoes and long pants. We do work with the National Park Service, with the rangers in most of these facilities. They are in uniform. Their uniforms are really nice. We try to look nice to complement the rangers in the visitor centers because their uniforms are really beautiful. So we try to make sure we match that style a little bit, not too casual.
That's great. Are there any restrictions on hair, facial hair for gentlemen, tattoos, anything like that?
No, not really. You know, we do have long sleeve shirts. So I don't think anything of that nature is all that important to us. For the guys, I think having, you know, really large beard probably wouldn't be really good. I mean, you're working with the general public. You want to make sure that you look nice when you're working with them. And then again, you know, National Park Service rangers, they do have beards and things like that. They do keep them neatly trimmed. Mm-hmm. And as far as the gals, they do wear their hair in ponytails a lot because they are outside. And, you know, excessive jewelry and things like that, they're not allowed to wear that. We try to sort of map what the Park Service looks like. But for the most part, our folks look terrific. You know, they come to work and, you know, the biggest thing is that smile on their face. Mm-hmm. We don't ask too much of it in that way.
Do work campers get to choose the location that they want to be in the park?
Yeah, sometimes. So we try to match people up with what we think will work. And we have some really large stores like Old Faithful mm-hmm. that have really large staffs. We are always looking to see how is the person going to fit in at a location. Are they going to, how will they be better if they are mixed in a team environment with a large staff mm-hmm. at a really busy place? Or would people fit in better, say, at West Thumb, where it's kind of a real crazy environment at West Thumb and maybe more laid back at Grant? Okay. So we try to match people with what we think will be a good fit for them, rather than just throw them in some place. We talk to them in depth when we interview them about the opportunities that we have available, and then we try to see what's going to be a good fit, because we want people to do 2 things when they come up here. First and foremost, we want them to have fun and have a great time in Yellowstone. We're all about not just working here, but people come out here because they want to come have fun in the park mm-hmm. and they want to give a little back too. So we try to accomplish both of those things. I mean, sure, we have our nonprofit business thing that we have to run, mm-hmm. but at the same time we want to make sure people have fun, and if we don't put them in the right place or in the right environment, that's probably not going to happen. And then we want them to feel real comfortable is the second thing. If they've never worked camp before, sometimes putting them in with a bigger crew at Old Faithful where there's a lot of other people who are doing the same thing. Sometimes for the first time it's better to be part of a bigger group Absolutely. Than it is to be off it. At say North all by yourself going, oh my gosh, here I go, you know,
yes.
kind of thing.
Absolutely. Okay. When work campers are hired to work for Yellowstone Association, can they move around throughout the season, or they're hired for one location and that's the location they remain at throughout the season?
Typically, especially first-time work campers, we put them at one location and that's where they remain. Yellowstone is such a big place that it's a little difficult if you start moving around at first. So we try to just at first place people where we think will be the best fit and make the most sense. We do have some unique positions though. I should talk a little bit about these. After people have worked for us for a little bit, we have some positions called floaters. And they're kind of a rover person. And what a rover does is they go around, we hire them every summer, and we have 3 districts in the park, so we hire 3 of these roving people, 1 for each district. When somebody goes to take an institute class, they provide the coverage. If somebody gets, comes down with a cold and they're just not feeling well and they don't want to come to work, that rover is there to help cover. If people want to take an extra day, say maybe they want to go explore the Grand Tetons because they've never been there and they want an extra day as part of their weekend to go do that. If the floater's available, we'll put the floater in for the coverage. When people want to go on these, like for example, if employees want to go on the employee backpack trip, we'll bring the floaters in to help with the coverage.
Okay.
So we do have these people available. We've had cases where some of our employees have had kids that are going off to college for the first time and they need to take them. So the floater's there to help the coverage so they can do these things and still come and work for us in the summer.
That's cool. Okay. And is the compensation similar for the rovers?
It's a little higher for the rovers because they have to have more experience. They have to have more experience with Yellowstone National Park, and they need to know about all of our locations to be able to work in them. First year, people are just trying to learn about us and even where all the locations are, much less work in them.
True.
So a rover has to have a little bit more experience and be a little bit more familiar with the park and with what we do so they can work in any location that we put them in.
That's great. And what time of year do the work campers need to arrive and come in, and how late, when does the season end for them?
For us, our season's a little longer. There's other employers in the park that I know do short contracts for people, but with us, we typically bring our people in and have them start around the first or second week of May every year, and then ask them to stay at least through September 30th. September 30th is the end of our fiscal year. We do store inventories at that time, and then that's when, in the National Park Service here at Yellowstone, most of the visitor centers are open until September 30th. When September 30th hits, they close most of the visitor centers. The only ones that remain open are Canyon and Old Faithful and Mammoth at that point. And then those shut down in October. So we do have some cases like Old Faithful and Canyon where mid-October, maybe even the end of October, people would stay that long. We have a longer season. We don't bring people in the middle of it, especially new people. There's, as you can imagine, some extensive training that we do in the front. We don't just teach people how to run the cash register here. We have to teach them about Yellowstone because they're being asked a lot of questions about the park. Because they are located in visitor centers or say at West Thumb where there's no ranger present. We send them to training with the National Park Service, the same training that the naturalist rangers here receive. These people get 1 full day of that to help them answer questions that visitors would do. So bringing people in mid-season kind of really doesn't work for us unless they've worked for us for a lot of years and are maybe very familiar, but that doesn't happen very often. Usually that's a special circumstance. But we like people to stay that entire summer because Yellowstone's a big place, like I said, and it takes people a long time just to learn to be comfortable with not only talking about the park, but also member recruiting, right? It takes a while to develop that spiel, how am I going to talk to somebody about membership? And in some cases it can take anywhere, some people get it right out of the gate, they're natural salespeople, and then some people it takes them, about 6 weeks sometimes to really feel comfortable talking to people about that opportunity of becoming a member with us. And so because of all of these things, we like people to, start with us in about mid-May and end about the end of September.
How many work campers do you guys usually hire for a season?
It varies. We have a really good return rate here. Just in the South District alone, that would be Old Faithful, Grant, Westham, and Madison. There's approximately 26 employees down there in the summertime. Old Faithful in and of itself is a really big operation. We just opened that brand new beautiful visitor center down there on August 25th of 2010.
Wow.
And it takes quite a large staff to operate the store. For example, the last couple of years we've hired about 10 to 11 folks that were new. Once people get on with us, they tend to want to stay on with us because they like what we do. They like the fact that we're mission driven to help educate people in the park, and that it's a nonprofit. So that's kind of one advantage I think that we do have, is when people get started with us, they go, oh, we like working for them, and we especially like their mission. We have one employee that's worked for us 17 years. We have another employee that's been with us over 25 years. Her husband's a park ranger who works here seasonally. So we have some very long-time employees. I started out as a work camper myself. My husband and I saw the ad in Work Camper for Yellowstone Association and called them up. Really liked what they had to say, and now we've been here 7 years. So we have a lot of long-time folks. We do have some openings every year though, because like I said, some people, they're just out traveling the country and they want to go experience some different things. We have people from time to time who go do that and then come back.
Sure.
So it does vary every year based on what happens with our existing employee base. But I would say we've been averaging about 10 people per year. It's not a lot. Some years a lot more.
Sure. Okay. And do work campers make up the majority of your staff, or just a certain percentage?
In the park, they make up almost the entire staff. We have really no housing in the park other than RV sites. So that's what we do. That's what we look for and what we hire. The staff for all of the stores in the park, there's, if you include the Lamar Buffalo Ranch in there as part of it, we actually have about 9 stores in the park that we have to staff. So it's a lot of stores to staff, and we're going to be adding a new location. This summer we're going to be looking for staff for the new Quake Lake Visitor Center that's operated by the Gallatin National Forest, which is out west of West Yellowstone, Montana. Great location.
Beautiful out there.
Yeah, really fascinating geologic story there. It's one of the few places in the world that I think you can really get to firsthand see the power of a 6.8 magnitude earthquake.
Whoa.
So that should be a really interesting, fun place for couples to work.
Awesome. Okay. Do you guys hire singles as well?
We do. We look for couples. Some locations we like to staff with couples because it just works out great, especially if it's a husband and wife or just a couple that wants to come and work here. It works out great for them. And then other locations we only have single positions available, so we have some of both.
How do you guys usually acquire work campers?
We advertise in Work Camper magazine. We also every year try to do a recruiting trip. Recruiting trips are really great for us because it allows us to sometimes contact people in person. They get to know us a little bit better. We get to know them a little bit better. We do phone interviews, but the in-person ones, really great way to connect. This year we will be doing a recruiting trip the week after Thanksgiving, and we'll be in Tucson, Arizona at the Lazy Days RV Resort, and we'll be there for an entire week. One nice thing about that, people who come and stay at the Lazy Days RV Resort, if they pay for 2 nights, they get a 3rd night free. It's a great facility. They can come down and enjoy the sunshine and sunny Tucson. Maybe go to the Sonoran Desert Museum. I'll put a plug in for them because they're great. And they do a lot of great nonprofit work down there. And then people can come visit with us and talk to us about what opportunities we will have available for the upcoming summer 2013 season.
So if folks are interested in applying, when should they start applying for the following summer season?
So the following summer season, we will be putting the applications on the internet at our website, YellowstoneAssociation.org. They will be up in October, and I want to say the first week of October is probably when we typically put those up. I would say first or second week, just to be safe here. They can check our website. They can come through the website, put in an application, and then we will get in touch with them and get them set up for an interview. If they are going to be in the Tucson area, that's a great way to connect with us because you can come talk to us in person, and that will be the week after Thanksgiving. We can also, if people really can't get there, arrange for a phone interview. So we'll do all of that as part of that week that we're in Tucson, phone interviews as well as in person. I try to encourage people to come in person if you can. In-person people, I have to say, they do have an edge because they've come in person and talked to us. But we are willing to interview great folks over the phone as well. We usually talk to people for about an hour when we interview them. And so we can cover a lot of ground in an hour with people. Sometimes we call back for second interviews too if we find that we have more questions about a location or something that we need to talk to the folks about, because also we're trying to do a good fit with the location and the people that we're going to put in there.
Absolutely, sure. Yeah. And what do you guys usually look for in a good work camper?
Well, for us, it's a couple of things. We're not just straight retail. A big part of what we do is membership in the Yellowstone Association. We look for, people who can easily talk to people that visit our bookstores. It's really important to be able to talk to visitors when they come in. So we look for kind of outgoing folks who have a lot of enthusiasm about Yellowstone. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest thing that we look for first and foremost is about the park. How do they feel about the park? Mm-hmm. If they just love Yellowstone, that's the first criterion. I think the second criterion, we look for people who want to give back. Because let's face it, we're a nonprofit, so we don't pay huge salaries. So there has to be another motivation for people to come here. And I think it's the opportunity to give back and do something to help preserve and protect and inspire people who come to Yellowstone. And it's a great way for people to get involved and do that. I think that's the two most important things that we look for. And then, like I said, that ability to talk to the visitors. People with sales backgrounds are always good for us. We don't do high pressure though. Ours is very soft sell. We're basically offering people an opportunity as all to become a member and just stay connected to the park. That's really what we're about, more than trying to sell them something. So it's really important to, when we talk to folks, to spread that philosophy about, look, this isn't a hard sell kind of a thing. We're basically giving people an opportunity to become connected and stay connected with Yellowstone.
Awesome. And how many years has Yellowstone Association been hiring work campers?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Okay.
A long time. The organization itself has been around for a really long time. We've since I believe the 30s, 1935, I think.
Wow.
It used to be called the Yellowstone Natural History Association, and it's been around a long time, hiring work campers for a really long time, since before I've been here. I came here through Work Camper, like I said, myself, and I've been here 7 years, so they've been recruiting through that means for a long, long time.
Sure. All right, well, there's been a lot of great information, but is there anything else that you would want to add or want anyone looking at coming to Yellowstone and working for Yellowstone Association to know?
Sure. I think if you're interested in Yellowstone National Park and you want to come here and you want to have a chance to learn more about Yellowstone, you can come and spend an entire summer with us working and helping out Yellowstone. It's very rewarding work. I'm sure that I speak for the entire retail sales staff out in the park who look fondly upon their experience here, being able to come and spend an entire summer in Yellowstone. Folks on their days off, they just go out and play. It's not just Yellowstone either, it's the entire greater Yellowstone area. We have our sister park to the south, Grand Teton. People can just buzz right down to Grand Teton, go check it out. There's a lot of great things to do and see in this area. Cody, Wyoming is a fascinating place to go visit. People can go to these great places and have a really great time. Montana is a beautiful state. People can travel around. We've even had work campers who buzzed over to the Black Hills just to check it out while they've been working up here. If you've never been to the Rocky Mountain West, definitely this is a great chance to be able to come and do that. One thing I can share too about Yellowstone, Yellowstone's climate, it can be rough.
Yeah.
So for people working here, I think it's important for people to understand when they come to Yellowstone and they come to the Rocky Mountains, we can have snow here any day of the year. Not uncommon for it to snow on the 4th of July and snow a lot. I think it's great to kind of know what you're getting into when you come to Yellowstone. The RV sites are nice, but it's not an RV resort. You are like you're camping. You might, one morning at Old Faithful, for example, I woke up with 18 inches of snow on the ground early in the season in April. So you can experience any kind of thing. You will be around wildlife. We used to have a resident bison that lived at the Old Faithful housing area. There was quite a character. You had to really watch out for him because he was usually always in a bad mood, and it was where he liked to live. So that was his home, and we all tried to coexist with him. But you can have anything in your RV site. Grizzly bears at Canyon, not uncommon. So I think it's important too for folks thinking about coming up here to know what they're getting into. It can be real muddy when the snow melts. So that's important to know. And but Yellowstone's a fantastic place. You can see magic here every single day. All you have to do is go out and drive around in the park. You may see something incredible just walking to work. One day walking to Old Faithful Visitor Center from the housing area, a badger walked right across the path in front of me. Who gets to see a badger in the wild? And he was just going about doing his badger stuff, and it was wonderful to get to see that. So you never know, and I would encourage anyone that's interested in this, look at our website, find out more about what we're all about. That will tell you everything you need to know, and if you think that this sounds like it's right for you, then put in an application with us, and we'd love to talk to you.